West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy with Chef Justice Putnam. Netrootsradio.com.
Je voudrais du soleil vert, des dentelles et des théières, des photos de bord de mer, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je voudrais de la lumière, comme en Nouvelle-Angleterre. Je veux changer d'atmosphère, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Ma fleur sous la pluie de novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Je voudrais du Fred Astaire, revoir un latte.
Trump's lawyers said in court today, quote, "We've characterized it at times as an overdue library book scenario. No biggie." Those classified and top secret documents, they are just like an overdue library book. That interesting argument was made by Trump's lawyers today during a hearing this afternoon to determine whether or not a federal judge should grant Trump's request to appoint a special master to review the documents that the FBI retrieved from Trump's home. Yes, documents like these, top secret classified documents found squirreled away throughout Mar-a-Lago in his office, his bedroom, and his storage room. The Trump-appointed judge did not issue a ruling from the bench as to whether or not she would appoint a special master per Trump's request, but she did say she would unseal a more detailed inventory of the documents taken from Mar-a-Lago. Her ruling and the unsealing of that document could come at any time. We have no idea when we are going to get it, so know that we have all of our eyes on you, Pacer. That's a legal joke. In court today, the Justice Department had a simple reminder for the former president and his legal team about just whose documents they really are. They pointed out today that Trump, quote, is no longer the president. And because he's no longer the president, he had no rights to those documents. He was unlawfully in possession of them. That ends the analysis. Full stop. It does not get any clearer than that. The Justice Department argued that the appointment of a special master on claims of executive privilege would be, quote, unprecedented, because that's claiming executive privilege against the executive branch, which seems sort of impossible. The DOJ also argued that adding a special master at this point would cause delays, not only for its own ongoing criminal investigation, but for the Office of the Director of National Intelligence and her ongoing damage assessment of the documents. Remember, the Justice Department has said their initial review of the documents is complete. Its special review team, that filter team, has already set aside a small handful of documents deemed privileged. And the appointment of a special master could delay the important work, that damage assessment, about the fallout from those classified top secret documents hanging around Trump's club and what all that means for national security. Also, whether or not those classified documents contain national secrets that, improperly held, would be a violation under the Espionage Act. Meanwhile, Team Trump said a special master must be appointed because we need to lower the temperature on both sides. We need to take a deep breath. From the man who brought you calls of targeted violence against FBI agents, a plea for everybody to just please get along. Joining us now is Joyce Vance, former U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Alabama, current professor at the University of Alabama Law School of Law, and co-host of the podcast Sisters in Law. Joyce, thank you so much for being with me this evening.
Thanks for having me, Alex.
So let's talk about this third-party review, this special master. Where, I know you've seen the court minutes that we have and the judge's ruling. Where do you think she's going to land on this? Do you have any indication based on the events of today?
She's given every indication that she's inclined to use a special master. And her approach to the government has been a little bit of a plea. Come on, what's it going to hurt to do this? But that's not how the law works, right? You could say this in every case. Every defendant would love to have an investigation into their criminal conduct slowed down and have an outside person reviewing everything that DOJ does. But that's not how our system works. And doing this is just another way of Trump demanding that he receive special treatment, that he be set above the law. I hope the judge will see through this and not go along with it.
Well, and it's not just the appointment of the special master. It's what the Trump team wants from the special master. Today in court, the Trump attorney said they want a third-party special master to share all of the evidence with them, including the affidavit laying out the government's case. Is that the bridge too far, or do you think that could be legitimately under consideration?
No, that would be an absolutely illegitimate step to take. This judge is a former federal prosecutor. It's tough to believe that she would approve that sort of a strategy, because what Trump is really trying to do here, if you take a step back and look at the pleadings, this is just an effort to delegitimize the Justice Department. There's no legal basis for appointing a special master and giving him this extra look-see into the government's work. He's in essence trying to argue to the jury of public opinion, you can't trust the Justice Department. And that's what this is all about. He doesn't have a defense. He's acknowledged having the documents. We can all see for ourselves that they're classified. So his only strategy is to trot out this tired old approach that he's used time and time again when he's been in trouble, and to say, you can't trust DOJ. They're at fault. They're coming after me. It's a witch hunt. I should have a level of oversight into their investigation that no other subject in a criminal case is entitled to.
It is Friday, the 2nd of September of 2022, and you are in West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. I am your chef de cuisine, Justice Putnam. Gunner the English Bulldog is our snoozing sous chef, and our daily special is Blue Moon Spirits Fridays. That's right, because we are all Nighthawks in the Diner of Life. And I would suggest we go ahead and sip those French 77s that we have virtually poured for you and awaiting your imbibing pleasure here at Rick's in Casablanca. Is that what we are doing right now at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy? I don't know. A way station for those refugees escaping the fascist takeover of the world. Maybe. Just don't have a speech during prime time about saving democracy, because the networks will consider that to be too partisan. If you're trying to save democracy and the other party is not, well, that's political. Really? Really? I'm just reminded how many times the networks broke away for Trump's hate fests. His 15 minutes of hate. Or were they hour? 2 hours. However long it took him to rant and rant and rant. And then we have to put up with the media also not only did they not broadcast it, but then they were quick to criticize it being so partisan. And just the breaking of norms. Oh my God, there were some Marines in the picture. When have Marines never been in the picture during a presidential speech? And anyway, it was in Philadelphia. And where were the Marines? Where did they start? Yes, in Philadelphia. I just remember when people were all Twitter. Their hearts went flutter, flutter in the media when GW gave his speech on an aircraft carrier with an aircraft carrier full of uniformed sailors And a banner, a mission accomplished banner right there in the camera frame. Oh, no. Oh, that was so great. So presidential. They're acting like it's some sort of new thing that the Marines open up the door at the White House when the president and other people walk in and out of the Oval Office. They consider that to be a breaking of a norm, as if Americans are as stupid as the deplorable fascist maggots that make up Trump's base. And they keep saying that's half of America. That is not half of America. They are the toxic third. The toxic third that has always existed in American politics. Media, wake up. The only reason they seem outsized is because they got loud mouths and a lot of guns. Half of the American population. Give me a break. Okay. I'm a little angry. And then we got the loose cannon judge. Jeez. Packed the courts with Federalist Society judges for decades and decades and decades, and look where we are. We got a judge entertaining the idea that someone who's not president anymore has some kind of claim to executive privilege. I'll tell you what I think is going on. She's of the belief that Trump is still president, like Trump does. So everything he does is under the aegis of being the president and all that entails. My executive privilege is more powerful than the executive privilege of that usurper in the White House, that Brandon mother. And we are so mean. So mean. After we've been called baby blood drinking socialists, Soros, doing the work of Soros, because, he's Jewish. We're commies, pedo-commies, pedo-Hitlers, whatever it is. And we say fascist, and now we are so mean, so mean. Joe was heckled during the speech by some maggots with bullhorns. And he defended their right to protest because this is America. Trump told his goons to beat the crap out of the hecklers at his hate rallies. And who gets criticized for being, unbecoming a leader? Actions that are unbecoming a leader. Yeah, well, Dark Brandon knows when you've been a bad maggot. And Lindsay, no amount of chameleon politics is going to change that. You're still a bad maggot, and Dark Brandon knows. So Trump wants his secrets back because he wants to blackmail and extort the DOJ and America with the secrets that he has to keep from being convicted of being a spy. This was the gambit all along, and we know it. From the very beginning, he said he would never accept losing. He would never concede. If I win or lose, we'll determine that. That'll determine whether it was a good election or not. You got Leonard Leo getting $1.6 billion from somebody. Well, we pretty much know who. But still. The Nazis and the fascists never would have risen to power except for, a few things. One is the tightly wedded industrial complex with its deep pocketed money behavior. I don't know. I'm stringing words here. And the government. But also, let us not forget that both the Nazis and the fascists rose to power after years and years of packing the courts and corrupting the courts. How is it that a Federalist Society Looney Tune can make up law and say that a private citizen who just happened to be in the presidency, I would say illegitimately, truly, if we want to talk about legitimate and illegitimate presidencies. But we had to live with it. Because we follow the rules and we live with it, they're going to use it all against us. See? They accepted it. And they don't have to accept anything. And they got a judge saying, well, he might have a claim to executive privilege. How can the executive privilege claim executive privilege against the executive? Which executive are we talking about? How many gods are in the sky? They call themselves Christians, and they say, it's my God. As if there's many, many gods in the sky. There's only one God in the sky. What are you talking about? Okay. Unitary executive. All their BS about original intent. Originalists. I'll say that this loose cannon judge, her last name's Cannon, and she has Lois in her name. So loose cannon, we'll just call it that. The reason they think, I'll just reiterate, the reason they think that Trump has any claim to executive privilege is that they believe that he is still the executive. Like some sort of, I don't know, Nazi de Gaulle. Holy hell. It was all a front. I call this loose cannon an originalist, because that's what originalists do. They just make up original law that has never existed before. They're not going back to original intent. They're making up something entirely original and calling it law. I'm a judge. I can call it law. Lifetime appointment. So yeah, we would get this kicked up to the Federalist Society PAC Supreme Court. My God. They couldn't get the ABA ratings on these judges anymore because the ABA is too partisan. But we get to accept Mitch McConnell's Federalist Society list. Can't have elections run by the League of Women Voters because they're too partisan. They believe in democracy, and the anti-democracy types, well, by their anti-democracy behavior, they don't believe in democracy, and they are there to destroy it. And they're getting a lot of help. Behavior unbecoming a leader, Ed O'Keefe. How is it, all these Fox Newsmax assholes get on regular TV? Let's go to CNN. All right. Okay. Enough of that. I shall now fill you in on a little bit of personal news as my mother recuperates from her hip surgery and having a bit of an issue there. Fortunately, I went in yesterday and sat with her. Well, when I say sat, we worked together for hours and hours, and it was like a switch turned on, and my mom wants to actively become involved in her care and healing, which is good because I'm thinking, my mom retains some of all those narcotic aspects of the narcotics they gave her a bit longer than what we would consider normal. And she just needed to have that stuff leached out of her, I guess. We knew that there would be some sort of impact from the anesthesia and other medications because of the surgery and whatnot. But it was good to see her come around. She actually ate. She ate breakfast, and she ate a late breakfast and an early lunch. And also took part in ordering it because, well, just she was able to answer the simple questions about where she was, what she was there for, what town the hospital was in, the name of the hospital. So those are all good things, her full name, birth date, because previously she had been a bit confused and couldn't answer those questions in their entirety. And it was good to see her coming around. So, so we worked a little bit. And then there's the physical rehab of getting that hip moving and whatnot. So she was able to get out of bed with the leg lift, which she's supposed to use, by the way. If you've ever seen a leg lift, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, look it up. I'm not going to describe it, but it's a contraption, sort of like with a little hook on it that you can put on your foot and help you lift your leg off the bed, so that you're not using your hip muscle so soon, because you got to work those. You got to work those in, and but she seems to be on the mend, and we'll see how she is today. We always fear that there's a relapse or whatnot, but it was, I might have expressed it or I might have poo-pooed it, but there was a bit of a concern that maybe having my mom go through the trauma of a hip replacement surgery was too much on her psyche. But in the long run, it is going to be so much better, because there was nothing left in that degenerated hip. There was just bone floating around, and that's not good. I mean, I don't know how she put up with it. And I'm thinking that already just, she's dealing with the discomfort. That's what we talked about too, is we'll rename things. Like, that's not pain, that's a bit of discomfort. I know it's avoidance in a way, but it's a way to, mitigate the use of very strong drugs when you can get your own brain to kick in some endorphins instead. And not giving in to, that's pain and that's insurmountable. No, that's a bit of discomfort. Let's take care of that. And so renaming things that way can be a positive path to curing and healing. So we worked on that, and there's a bit of discomfort in just the surgery itself, but she even commented that she can tell a big difference in terms of, the pain that she had been experiencing down there in that hip area. So already I think we're finding positive aspects, and her coming around, I'll just say it was almost like a switch again. She seemed like a little out of it when I got there, and I leaned over and said, Mom, and then it was like her eyes opened up and the lights came on, and she even said, I want to start working on getting my hip in shape. And my mom's not one to do that. That's another thing. She hates the word exercise. I don't know why. I grew up with the presidential physical fitness program that John Kennedy put on and stuff. We all like that sort of thing, but I don't know. My mom didn't like gym class, I guess, for the time she was in high school. But regardless, that's another word we have to rename. But, pardon me, but she actually used the term exercise. I want to exercise and get this thing stronger. I'm like, okay, well, let's do it then. So she did get the physical therapy and occupational rehab ladies, because that's who they are, in there to work with her. And that was good. So she's eating. She sat up in a chair for hours and hours with me. That was the other thing. Sat up in a chair to eat. Sat up in a chair just to sit. She'd been in bed for a bit, and at first she just wanted the bed higher, and then she wanted to sit in a chair. So these are all positive developments, and that's the story of what's happening with Mom. It's been taking a bit of time during the day, so yeah, and that's good. That was to be expected as well. I believe that on Monday, it being a holiday, we will still have a show. Subject to change, because if they release Mom, I don't know. They could release her on Monday or sooner, but if they release her on Monday, sometimes it's quite early in the day, and we'll have to see if I can put a show together and do it on Monday. But right now, we are planning on one, so stay tuned for that. Let us now give you a rundown on what we have in store here for you in the curated part of the show, as we begin here in the Bistro Cafe of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Yes, Trump's argument over a special master is really about discrediting the DOJ in the public eye than it is about making a legal argument. And that's all that matters to them. All. But they do have a judge that will make it law because, hey, geez, Judge Lois Cannon. On the rest of the menu, 7 Florida clerics filed a temporary injunction saying the state's extremist abortion law violates their freedom of speech, their religious liberty, and the Constitution's Establishment Clause. A conservative Wisconsin activist who said voter fraud is easy to commit faces election charges after getting caught. And an abortion rights group asked the Michigan Supreme Court to approve a November ballot question on whether a right to abortion should be enshrined in the state constitution. After the break, we move to the chef's table, where a man tried to kill Argentina's Vice President Cristina Fernandez outside her home, and U.S. federal agents simultaneously searched properties in Manhattan, a posh Hamptons Beach community, and an exclusive Miami island that have been linked to a billionaire Russian oligarch whose $120 million yacht was seized in April. All that and more on West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Bon appetit. Near the bottom of our homepage at netrootsradio.com, to the right of the page, is the chat room link, and the chat room is monitored by Kelly Lincoln, and we thank Kelly for doing so. If you would look across the page from that chat room link to the left, near the bottom of our homepage at netrootsradio.com, there is the link to our Patreon site. And if you could be so generous and possibly send us what you might spend on an espresso-type coffee drink, for instance, if you could send those funds to us once a month, it would really help. Because I'll tell you why. We pay our bills, and you help us do that. And since we pay our bills, we have been able to fly under the radar and continue this powerhouse of resistance against dark forces arrayed against not only democracy in the United States of America, but around the world. And we thank you for that generosity, and there's no joke about that. If you would like to follow Netroots Radio on Twitter, you can do so at Netroots Radio. Thank you, Tom, for taking care of that Twitter feed. You can also follow me on Twitter at Justice Putnam. I post the show notes and links diary on Daily Co's 10 minutes before showtime, so you can get those show notes and links, and that's where the real reportage is, by following the links provided on my Twitter feed, because they're all there on my Daily Co's page. Follow the show on Twitter at Cookbook West. And please do pick up podcasts by way of Spreaker, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeart, YouTube, iTunes. Really, wherever podcasts can be found. And remember, the deep archive of the Netroots Radio Library that spans over 11 years. Yes, we're still here. That can be found at the Internet Archive at archive.org. Okay. This first offering here in the Bistro Cafe of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, as we really burned up a lot of time in the morning rant, but there you go. It's by Michelle Burstein from the Washington Post. Saying Florida's strict new abortion ban is causing immediate and irreparable injury to fundamental rights and cherished liberties, 7 members of a clergy asked a state court for a temporary injunction yesterday, Thursday, so that they again can advise believers freely based on their own religious values and beliefs. The request to the Circuit Court of the 11th Judicial Circuit of Miami comes a month after the same clerics sued Florida, saying the law that went into effect July 1st violates their freedom of speech, religious liberty, and the Constitution's Establishment Clause because, quote, it codifies a singular and exclusive religious belief with no plausible secular justification, end quote. The lawsuit charged the Florida law, which makes no exceptions for rape or incest, was signed in April by DeSantis in a Pentecostal church, alongside anti-abortion lawmakers such as the House Speaker, who called life a gift from God. The plaintiffs are 2 Christians, 3 Jews, 1 Unitarian Universalist, and a Buddhist. Oh, like unestablished religions, apparently. They note in the suit and Thursday's filings that it is a felony to violate the abortion ban, including participating in one, which the clerics say under Florida law appears to qualify as counseling or encouraging a crime. Plaintiff is inhibited from providing spiritual guidance in accordance with their religious beliefs to the congregants, the filings read. Opponents of the Florida law, one of the strictest anti-abortion measures in the country, are arguing on multiple fronts. It bans abortions after 15 weeks. Even before the law took effect, Planned Parenthood, the ACLU, Florida abortion providers, and the Center for Reproductive Rights sued, citing a 1980 state constitutional amendment guaranteeing a right to privacy. The state Supreme Court has ruled unanimously that the right to abortion is included in that, including for minors, and in 2012, Florida voters rejected an amendment to the state constitution that would have removed the abortion-related privacy protection. But that doesn't matter anymore. Precedent? They don't care about precedent. Planned Parenthood won an initial injunction pausing the law from going into effect, but a state appeal quickly put the law back on until the plaintiffs could argue their points. Last Wednesday, a Florida appellate court formally rejected the injunction request, saying the abortion providers and their co-plaintiffs could not prove irreparable harm. The state law bans abortions after 15 weeks. The vast majority of abortions, around 9 and 10, occurred during the first trimester, which is around 12 to 14 weeks. The parties do not dispute that the operation of the law will not affect the majority of provided abortions, Judge Brad Thomas said of the Planned Parenthood case. With the legal theory of Planned Parenthood and its co-plaintiffs rejected, the cleric's attorney, Marcy Hamilton, said her clients needed to urgently press their case. The clerics cite their faith scriptures and denominational policies, showing diverse beliefs about what it means to honor the inherent rights of humans, including those bearing children when life begins. plaintiffs have given sermons on reproductive justice and believe his role as counseling and advising women and girls faced with these issues is to be a pillar of discernment and support as she makes her own decision, read the motion from Reverend Tom Capo, a minister of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Miami. Patrick Marley of the Washington Post brings us this next offering here in the Bistro Cafe of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy Blue Moon Spirits Fridays. Prosecutors brought voter fraud charges against a man who ordered absentee ballots in the names of two others to bolster his claims that breaking election laws is easy. The endeavor to show election fraud is possible earned conservative activist Harry Waite 2 felony and 2 misdemeanor charges. In an interview, Waite said he stood by his decision to request that ballots be sent to his home in the names of the Speaker of the State Assembly and the Mayor of Racine. In hindsight, I'd do it all over again, 100 times over, Waite said. Yeah. Waite is the president of a group called HOT Government, Hot Government, which derives its name from its pledge to advocate for honest, open, and transparent government. He has used his platform for the last 2 years to question the state's election laws and practices. In July, he used a state online portal called My Vote Wisconsin to request primary ballots in the names of Assembly Speaker Robin Vos and Racine Mayor Corey Mason, 2 officials he has long criticized. Mason's ballot was sent to Waite's home in Dover in southeast Wisconsin, but Vos's was not. Waite said he returned Mason's unopened ballot to county officials. Soon after requesting the ballots, Waite alerted the sheriff and top prosecutor in his county to tell them what he had done and to offer himself up for arrest. Waite contended his ability to make the request showed that the My Vote portal was flawed and called for officials to shut it down. Racine County Sheriff Christopher Schmalling told Waite he wouldn't arrest him and praised him for alerting the public to the issue. Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul soon afterward announced that the state Justice Department was investigating the matter. And yesterday, Thursday, Wisconsin Assistant Attorney General Susan Happ charged Waite with 2 felony counts for unauthorized use of personally identifiable information and 2 misdemeanor counts of election fraud. If found guilty on all charges, Waite could face a maximum of 13 years in prison and $22,000 in fines. Joey Capoletti and Sarah Burnett of the Associated Press brings us this final offering here in the Bistro Cafe of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. An abortion rights group yesterday, Thursday, asked the Michigan Supreme Court to approve a November ballot question on whether a right to abortion should be enshrined in the state constitution. Reproductive Freedom for All filed its request with the High Court after the state canvassing board rejected the ballot question on Wednesday. That body deadlocked 2-2 along partisan lines, with the pair of Republican commissioners citing what they called spacing errors in the petitions calling for the ballot question, and they just threw it out. Abortion rights supporters say it's important for state residents to be able to weigh in on the abortion question, especially because of a 1931 law that would ban all abortions except to save the life of the mother that abortion opponents had hoped would be triggered by the Supreme Court's reversal of Roe v. Wade in June. The law has been blocked for months, or has been blocked by months of court battles. In the filing, the group asked the court to order the Board of State Canvassers to certify the question for the November ballot and to do so by Wednesday. That would give the board members time to certify the initiative before the board's meeting on September 9th, which is also the deadline set by state law for the board to certify the ballot to the Secretary of State. All right. Let us now get to our break. And when we get back from that break, we will go through weather from around the world, and we will finish up with the stories that we have curated for you today. You are listening to West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, and we will be right back.
You are listening to netrootsradio.com.
Please hang up and try again.
From a point at sea to the circles of your mind, a new force is at work for planetary transformation. New radio for a new Earth.
This is Take Two Movie Review. I'm Mike Friend. This week, Tick, Tock, Die. Every generation has its favorite young people get together and things happen movie in genres from comedy to horror. Think The Big Chill to the Scream movies. In the new Bodies, 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 named after the murder mystery parlor game, we meet Bee, a working-class immigrant, and her new well-off lover, Sophie, on their way to an estate owned by the family of one of Sophie's friends, David, for a hurricane party. On arrival, we're introduced to a variety of Gen Z characters, including podcaster Alice and her definitely not Gen Z boyfriend, Greg. The alcohol and drugs are flowing, the winds are rising, and the power goes out just as their Bodies game is beginning. What could possibly go wrong? After the game degenerates, Bee finds David outside with his throat cut, which leads to a dysfunctional query as to who killed him, where the characters' petty grievances and distrust of one another come to the fore. While the film has a foot in the horror genre and builds a significant body count, the genius here is in the script's dialogue, which is full of social media buzzwords which are appropriately sent up, and where these awful kids reveal themselves as vacuous, incompetent, and self-centered, but mostly just rich, or as is self-described in one wonderful exchange, upper middle class, as one set of parents worked at a university, but one that's public. There are spot-on performances here from Amanda Stenberg, Maria Bakalova, and Pete Davidson, plus music and cinematography that enhance the whole morass. Its concluding big tell puts a giant period on the pointlessness of these people's existence. About Bodies, 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 another reviewer said, just visualize and then there were none in the Instagram era. This has been Take Two Movie Review. I'm Mike Friend. Catch up with us at take2moviereview.com and feed us back on our channel on YouTube.
This program is presented by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Good eating habits developed in childhood can last a lifetime, but getting children to eat their fruits and vegetables is a common problem. Eating them adds important nutrients, helps control weight, and reduces the risks for many serious illnesses. Children in the U.S. are eating more fruit. However, 60% of children get fewer fruits than recommended, and 93% don't get enough vegetables. Childcare, schools, and school districts can help change this by meeting or exceeding federal nutrition standards for meals and snacks, including fruits and vegetables wherever food is offered, and helping children learn about and taste fruits and vegetables. At home, parents can eat a variety of fruits and vegetables with their children and provide them as snacks, even if it takes many tries. Also, parents can include their children when shopping for, growing, and preparing fruits and vegetables. To learn more, visit cdc.gov/vital signs.
For the most accurate health information, visit www.cdc.gov or call 1-800-CDC-INFO.
This program is presented by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Pools, water parks, and other recreational water venues are popular places to relax and stay cool, but they can be sources of serious illness. Since 2000, nearly 500 outbreaks have been reported at recreational water venues in the U.S., resulting in over 27,000 illnesses and 8 deaths. Most were caused by parasites, bacteria, viruses, or certain chemicals in the water. Parents with young children who have diarrhea should not allow their children to swim or play in the water. In addition, bathers should check the inspection scores of pools and water parks and can conduct mini inspections using test strips before getting in the water. A few simple precautions can allow you to share the fun, not the germs. Thank you for joining us on A Minute of Health with CDC.
For the most accurate health information, visit cdc.gov or call 1-800-CDC-INFO.
Hi, I'm Tom Hartman, and since you're listening to netrootsradio.com, show your progressive side and go to the donate button on the bottom of the homepage. It's progressives like you who power Netroots Radio and keep the progressive message beaming everywhere 24 hours a day. Just go to our donate button at the bottom of netrootsradio.com. Thank you for keeping progressive radio at full power.
Make sure you're registered to vote. Go to rockthevote.org. Vote for Democrats up and down the ticket. This message, a public service from all the fine people of netrootsradio.com.
Thou shalt not kill. I'm Bill Newman, and this is the Civil Liberties Minute. And on August 25th, that was the sign that a cousin of the man the state of Oklahoma was about to execute was holding in protest. It seemed for a while in August that the execution of James Coddington might not go forward, because on August 3rd, the State Pardon and Parole Board recommended that his life be spared. Indeed, the former director of the state prison system, as well as a former Speaker of the State House of Representatives, publicly spoke out to try to stop the execution. They said Coddington had achieved redemption. But the governor, Kevin Stitt, who had appointed most of the members of the State Pardon and Parole Board, rejected their recommendation. And on August 25th, the state, as planned, executed James Coddington. He was 50. 26 states have abolished the death penalty or have imposed a moratorium on executions. For good reasons. The death penalty makes no one safer. It's racially and economically biased. The system makes mistakes, grave mistakes, and it's irreversible. Oklahoma now is planning to carry out an execution almost every month for the next 2 years. Yes, really, month after month after month after month after month. That state plans to kill someone to demonstrate that killing is wrong. The Civil Liberties Minute is made possible by the ACLU because freedom can't protect itself.
I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1885. White miners in Rock Spring, Wyoming, planned to wipe out the entire town's Chinese community. Chinese immigrants came to the United States looking for work, first in the California gold mines, then as laborers on the Transcontinental Railroad. Later, some worked for the Union Pacific-owned coal mines, including the one in Rock Springs. Union Pacific used racial animosity to divide its labor force. The company quashed the union at Rock Springs and only rehired 50 white miners. The other other 150 miners were Chinese. And on this morning, 2 white miners went to the mines and beat 2 Chinese miners, 1 to death. A mob of 150 whites armed with rifles marched into Chinatown. The mob gave Chinese residents an hour to pack up and leave. However, after 30 minutes, some started shooting off their rifles. 1 Chinese miner was killed. The Chinese workers panicked and tried to flee. White rioters robbed, beat, and even killed the Chinese workers that they could catch. In a report to the New York Chinese consulate, Chinese survivors related some of the rioters would let a Chinese go after depriving him of all his gold and silver, while another would be beaten with the butt ends of the weapon before being let go. Some of the rioters would shoot a Chinese dead on the spot. Some stood by, shouting loudly and laughing and clapping their hands. That night, white rioters burned down every building in Chinatown. In all, 28 Chinese workers were killed. President Grover Cleveland sent in federal troops to quell the violence. In the aftermath, the Chinese workers did not want to return to work. Union Pacific did not want to lose its cheap labor force and forced their return to the mines. Labor History in 2 brought to you by the Illinois Labor History Society and The Rick Smith Show. For more information, go to laborhistoryin2.com, like us on Facebook, and follow us on the Twitters at Labor History in 2.
Thank you for accompanying us here to the chef's table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy Blue Moon Spirits Fridays. We always begin, whether from around the world along the banks of the Rogue River, in the Rogue River Valley of Southern Oregon on the west coast of the continental United States of America, where it is currently 58 degrees Fahrenheit, expecting a high of about 96 to 98, a bit cooler than yesterday. We are now not only under an active air advisory, but we are also now under a red flag warning, which means that a vast swath of Southern Oregon, in which my county is only one of several, are now under a wildfire get ready to evacuate watch. Now, they can't do this because I got to go to Medford to take care of my sick mom who's recovering from a hip replacement surgery. We can't have wildfires burning down everything around us right now. Stop it. Anyway, that's what we got going on here. And not only that, it looks like we will have plenty of sunshine throughout the day, with winds out of the west-northwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour, with gusts even more, fanning the flames. A few passing clouds overnight, with lows in the upper 50s, winds out of the west-northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour, fanning the flames. Some clouds in the morning will give way to mainly sunny skies for the afternoon, and highs will be in the upper 80s, low 90s, winds out of the northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Let's hope that we have no more flames to fan. Confirmed cases of coronavirus in Jackson County in the southern part of Oregon stands at 501,005, with the deceased standing at 577. Pollen is rated as none outside the window here in Rogue River proper because the air quality index is in the unhealthy range at 117 parts per million. I'm wearing a mask. And the daytime UV index is in the high range at level 7. Boy, we got it all coming at us now. Barometric pressure is holding steady at 29.88 inches. Visibility is down to 5 miles because of smoke. And relative humidity is at a bone dry 22%. Weather from around the world is brought to you by a crowd of crowdsourced weather stations that a crowd crowdsources from around the world. London is 75 degrees and mostly cloudy. Paris is 75 and partly cloudy with a thunderstorm advisory that may affect critical electrical infrastructure. Rome is 86 and fair. Kyiv is 66 and mostly cloudy. Kabul is 72 and clear. Hong Kong is 85 and fair. Tokyo is 72 and cloudy. Sydney, Australia is 55 degrees, cloudy with heavy wind. San Francisco, California is 54 degrees and cloudy. And New York, is 74 degrees Fahrenheit and sunny. And that is weather from around the world, brought to you by a crowd of crowdsourced weather stations that a crowd crowdsources from around the world. Almudini Calatrava and Daniel Politi of the Associated Press brings us this first amuse-bouche here at the chef's table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Judicial and law enforcement authorities were investigating whether a Brazilian citizen who appears to have tried to assassinate Argentina's politically powerful Vice President Cristina Fernandez was a lone gunman or whether he was part of a larger organization. Fernando Andre Zabag Montiel is a 35-year-old street vendor who has lived in Argentina since 1998, a security ministry official told the Associated Press. There is no confirmed hypothesis, said the official, who asked not to be identified because he was not authorized to talk on the record. Everything is being investigated, he said. Montiel does not have a criminal record. The assassination attempt has shaken Argentina, a country with a history of political violence, and allies of Fernandez, who was president from 2007 to 2015, have called for a march in downtown Buenos Aires to express their support and repudiate the incident. Earlier, officials had said the alleged gunman used a .32 caliber Bursa to try to kill Fernandez. The only reason the assassination attempt failed was because the handgun misfired.
Je te donne, c'est mon amour pour la vie entière. La promesse de me trouver à tes genoux. Aussitôt que tu m'appelles, rester toujours fidèle. C'est tout, c'est tout. Je te donne tous mes printemps, mes étés de mer, mes automnes quand les feuilles tombent partout. Si ce n'est pas une bonne affaire, je te donne tous mes hivers.
Michael R. Sisak and Joshua Goodman of the Associated Press bring us this final amuse-bouche here at the chef's table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. U.S. federal agents simultaneously searched properties in Manhattan, a posh Hamptons Beach community, and an exclusive Miami island that have been linked to a billionaire Russian oligarch whose $120 million yacht was seized in April. The FBI confirmed it was at a Park Avenue high-rise, an estate in Southampton, New York, and the enclave of Fisher Island yesterday, Thursday, conducting what Miami-based FBI spokesperson Jim Marshall described as a court-ordered law enforcement activity. The Bureau would not provide more information. dozens of federal agents could be seen carrying boxes out of the Park Avenue property. FBI agents and Homeland Security investigations personnel searched the properties linked to Viktor Veckelsberg, a close ally of Putin. There was no immediate response to a request for comment sent to lawyers who have represented Veckelsberg. All right, good for them. And that brings us to the end of our broadcast period for the day and the week. But you do know Netroots Radio broadcasts on, and we're pretty sure we're going to meet up here on Monday for River City Hash Mondays, Labor Day. So do stay tuned to Netroots Radio all day and all night and all weekend for all the breaking news as it breaks. And we will meet up here on Monday, pretty sure, right here, that's for sure, in West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Bon appetit.
Je voudrais du soleil vert, des dentelles et des théâtres, des photos de bord de mer, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je voudrais de la lumière, comme en Nouvelle-Angleterre. Je veux changer d'atmosphère, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Ma fleur sous la pluie de novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Je voudrais du Fred Astaire, revoir un latte Goël. Je voudrais toujours te plaire dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je veux déjeuner par terre, comme au long de golfe clair, t'embrasser les yeux ouverts dans mon jardin d'hiver. Pluie de novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Ba-da-da-dum-di-da-dum. 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 Dans mon jardin d'hiver. Ba-da-da-dum-di-da-dum. 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 Dans mon jardin d'hiver. Dans mon jardin d'hiver. Dans mon jardin d'hiver.